You're watching the State of the Nation here on Citizen Television. Thank you for staying with us. Dr. Ekuru Okot is the Third Way Alliance Party leader. Senators Dan Manzo, Makueni, and Migoris Edioket join us here on the broadcast this morning. And thanks for staying with us, gentlemen. Yes, Dr. Ekuru.
Yeah, Ayub, not to steer away from the pressing national issues, but there is a concept in this country that has not been popularized called AGIP. Any government in power. So the political class will always pretend that they're actually representing the people. And you can see evidence. The senators themselves have said the leadership in the two houses has failed. We are yet to see what the Senate will do when this issue comes. And Ed here makes the point that accuses me that I want to suspend Article 150. I never said that. Yeah? But as a senator, he knows he can actually even bring what is called point of information. Or what is that word you guys use on the floor of the House? You do not have to proceed with a certain motion or a certain proposal if you can actually kill it. And what we are saying here is that, honestly, is this even an issue we should entertain, this impeachment? Vis-a-vis the issues that you have actually listed, there are people who have now gone without salary for, I think, 12 months, I'm told, 8 months. This is not spoken of. This is a pressing issue. It's an economic. The counties. The counties
months now counting.
Yes, exactly. I mean, last week I was in a conference with a workshop with the pastoral parliamentary group, and we're discussing about the equalization fund and how the equalization fund actually has not equalized. Almost 20 years later, now there is a proposal, for example, to extend it for another 10 years. Now, and the question that came. If the rest of the country benefited for 61 years today, why should the NFD or Northern Frontier countries be only given 20 years to equalize, to catch up with the rest of Kenya? Those are fundamental questions. But when we look at the figures on the equalization fund, remittances, the fund has been mismanaged. There's too much bureaucracy. So we are not addressing the fundamental questions in this country. And yes, you can make a proposition, whether it's political or legal, to impeach Gachagua. All I'm saying, my submissions are, I don't think we should be treated to this shenanigan. And I want these senators to say we should not even entertain this motion in the first place. Can we talk about those issues that you listed in the first instance? And Kenyans will be with you.
Okay.
Can I get Senator Manzo? I'll get
Yes.
I just want to say that Parliament has failed Kenyans.
Did you?
Parliament has completely failed Kenyans.
Including you?
Including me.
Why have you not resigned, Manzo?
You resign?
I will tell you why I have not resigned so far.
Tender.
Because I have one more duty to do.
Yeah.
Which one?
Which is?
I have to check the current government because no one else is checking.
You see, you failed.
Senator,
failed.
Parliament.
Senator, just hang on. Yes. To make it the ground rules clear,
yes.
Maybe for avoidance of doubt, I ask the questions. You'll respond to them.
Sure.
Yes, please proceed.
So, how Parliament has failed Kenyans is this way. First of all, the matter of this impeachment is a very trivial matter. And what is happening is that they're just lynching Gachagua. They're just, it's mob justice. And the person who passes judgment on Parliament are the people themselves after every 5 years. And there's a reason why election takes place every 5 years. We have to pass judgment on the president, deputy, and the members of parliament and the governors. So Kenyans, I'm just urging Kenyans now to be smarter. Have you seen what has happened? For as many of them as possible, the young people have turned 18, to take their ID cards, the Gen Zs to register as voters, form political parties or join political parties, and in the next election, clean up the country. Parliament is also a reflection of the people. So you are like who you elected.
But what then do you also do about young people in Kenya? Because look, they are systematically excluded from the system, not issued with identity cards, different cases for different regions in the country. In the case of Northeastern Kenya, there is the question of always the questions about your nationality and your commitment to the Kenyan cause. In the case of urban, mobile, and tech-savvy young Kenyans, they're not issued with ID cards.
The system is
deliberately locking them out of this opportunity.
This is where now it must start now. It must start now, let those who are not 18 years of age apply. In fact, it's an offense not to register as a Kenyan when you turn 18. Let them queue up in those places. Let them apply. And when it comes to registration of voters, let them do it. That's the time we shall challenge the government. Why are you not registering the Kenyans? Kenyans will come up and say, we want to be registered as voters. We want to be registered as Kenyans. That's why it begins, if we have to clean up this country. And it must be cleaned up in the next election so that we remove people without integrity. I can assure you what Parliament is doing right now in the Gachagua case. They just want to vote, having been mobilized through the political parties or out of hate. In fact, because today is a day of public participation in this matter of Gachagua, I really want to urge the president to throw these members of Parliament under the bus again. He threw them under the bus during the finance bill and saved Kenyans. Now it is up to him. Because what is happening is a lot of them are misleading the president. And it's a time now the president took action against Parliament. During public participation, there are many things which can happen. You can reconcile. If Gachagua has done anything, it should be investigated by EACC and charged. That's the easier way even to do away with Gachagua. If he has committed an offense, let us be told by the relevant body, but not Parliament, whereby they are prejudiced, they are not following the law already, they are wasting public funds. You can see these publications looking like ballot papers on Gachagua. And I'm asking all Kenyans to fill in this ballot paper, fill in the truth and send it to Parliament so that they can process it.
But where is the moral authority here, Senator Dan Manzo? Because if you look at the President himself as Deputy President on the 1st of September 2017 with President Uhuru Kenyatta, they went to Bama Market in Gikomba after the Supreme Court annulled their election. They called judges of the Supreme Court crooks, the Wakora network, sponsored hashtags we have seen, and the deliberate attempts to starve cash of the judiciary, calling out the names of then Chief Justice, now Emeritus David Kenani Maraga. He himself, I mean, given the political establishment we have, being a KANU stalwart, a member of Parliament, Eldoret, a key member of the Pentagon, a grand coalition government minister, the first deputy president, now president, recently just flipped on the Ford Foundation in the US. He caused it up to them after calling them names here. You look at the opposition integration, he said they will never come into my government. Now he has 4 members of the ODM party. Where do you draw the line on the moral compass of the politicians?
I'm just saying, none of us is clean. Everybody has fallen short of... Wait. Yes, I'm just saying,
Speak for yourself.
Yes, I'm saying nobody's perfect, and mistakes can be made. But there comes also a time when you correct mistakes for the nation. And that's why I'm saying during public participation, one of the things the president can do is to listen to the public. And then, through the church and the elders in this country, reconcile the two and throw the MPs under the bus.
But I wanted you to respond to this question. I have a small question.
The bus.
But I wanted you to respond to this question. I have a small question. Eddie.
They have monopolized the conversation.
No, Eddie, I want you to comment. I want you to comment on this.
Yes.
You see, when we bring in the question of tribal mobilization, the truth for the matter is this. When a president, when somebody seeks the presidency of this country, as in the case of William Ruto, and even Uhuru Kenyatta, I'm sure they have done tribal calculations, including regional calculations. And they said, okay, you, Ayub, I want to be the president, but you be my deputy. But bring me that vote. And that's why Gachagua is talking about Murima, this Mulima thing. It's because Gachagua, in that conversation, which all of us were not privy to, but we know, we are not stupid, we were not born last night in this country, but we know that that is the calculation that actually went on, to saying that I will run for president, I want you to bring the block of your region. That is tribal mobilization, and everybody has benefited from it. And part of the reason why right now, even the bread-based government is actually, I mean, Azimio are in bed with William Ruto, because William Ruto is looking into that block of the Western vote, because now the marriage with the Murima has become so messy and very noisy. So he's calculating, how will I survive in 2027? That's tribal mobilization. And that's why for me, I go back to the fundamental question. We are not new in this country, you know? So why are we being treated to this shenanigan? And that's why I'm appealing to these brilliant senators here. You should be able to dismiss some of this crap, this nonsense, and excuse my French, and just say, you know what, stop wasting Kenyans' time on this issue.
Yes, Senator.
And I think, Eddie, maybe you need to comment on that.
Yes,
you guys are already in government. So why don't you guys reconcile?
Yes, Senator Eddie.
You know, I am actually seeing the character of the bad manners policy of national politics with the current sitting leaders in the two of these wonderful gentlemen. They are being very dishonest with the truth. And I'm disappointed as a young person in this country because what I see in somebody like Dan Manzo saying things, a very wonderful senator, very smart, but you can see through his eyes, he's saying things that is convenient for him politically in his region. I was expecting us to have a more sober conversation about how our country can be. And you know, the fundamental architecture of our country is the Constitution. If the things you are saying are for your own political convenience, even to an amazing lawyer like Ekuru Aukot, I have a problem with it. Number one, I have said this and I'm going to repeat it. The impeachment of a deputy president is not a small matter. It cannot be an inconsequential conversation. My friend, in 1966, the vice president then, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, had a serious problem and a fallout with the president then that has defined this country for over 60 years. And the reason why that is important is that if you trivialize this conversation and not talk about the process from A to Z, and A to Z of this process includes being able to have a replacement of the deputy president, should he be impeached? And I'm saying should he because I'm a judge in this matter. If you don't have that conversation and even look at the integrity of the people who might end up being in that leadership, should he be impeached, then we are wasting the airtime that you have given us here, Ayub. This is a very serious matter. So the number one thing is because the moment Ekuru Aukot and the committee of experts chose to come with Article 149, which describes how a deputy president would be replaced, and 150, which gives the prescription of what would be the things that amount to the deputy president being removed. It's an important conversation. That's number one. Number two, Dan Manzo has spoken here about how the parliament has failed, how is the worst institution. I think that is being unfair to the Senate of Kenya. EACC that is now lauding should be able to interrogate Gachagua's behaviors if there is. You see, EACC has never convicted any bad manners in this country of any senior people.
DPP is allowed to prosecute, not EACC.
Now I'm talking. Let me just answer my own, right?
Yes, please.
The Senate is talking about has impeached a number of leaders in this country that we know. That even through public opinion, those leaders were not having the character that merits Chapter 6 of the Constitution and Chapter 10 of the Constitution. It's the Senate that is about that is now vilifying. He's vilifying that Senate for his own convenience truth, right? For his own political scores in Eastern. That's not what I'm here to do as a young person in this country. The judicial system in this country, who among the big fish in this country, as the judiciary in this country ever held to account? The Senate has.
But courts of evidence. It's what
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If the threshold is about holding people to account, the Senate has held people to account, and that's why I'm saying that Dan Manzo should be careful.
An effort. I must say, Senate makes an effort.
Dan Manzo should be careful not to get into this muddy politics of convenience of Eastern politics, Nyanza politics. I'm not here to advance the Nyanza politics. If I was here to advance the Nyanza politics and even talk about politics, I will crucify my brother Ekuru Aukot because he committed the original sin.
Which one?
It is Ekuru Aukot who voted for Ruto to be in office. He cannot vote for Ruto and then today he's coming to tell me how Ruto is so bad that now I should be able to correct him, to correct his mistakes.
You're talking about 2017?
No, 2022. Ekuru Aukot voted for Ruto. It is in his tweets that he campaigned for Ruto, and Ekuru cannot tell us that he doesn't have following in this country. He has vied as a president in this country. In 2017, Ekuru vied. He has got a following among middle class. He has got following among his people in Turkana. He has got following among the voters who voted for him. So if he made a statement on Twitter that supported the current president, and then he went ahead and voted for that current president, it is no doubt that some of his voters voted for the same president. Why does he want me as a young person to now take his burden of misjudgment that he did not give to this country the right leadership and then asking me now to take that burden for him? I cannot inherit a Kuru's enemies.
Thank you.
I can only do my work as a legislator and as a young person who wants the best for this country. Let me just finish by saying this on the issue of tribalism that he has talked about. The issue of tribalism and the kind of leaders that we have in this country. Ekuru Aukot is aware of a philosophy or a line of thought or a theory called whataboutism. You can also call it whataboutery. The whataboutery is an argument where somebody has done something wrong. And they're saying that because he has done something wrong and the other person has also done something wrong, I'm not going to hold this one accountable until we hold the other one accountable. That's a very, very simplistic reasoning. Let me tell you, even if you go to the courts today, if there is an issue that is brought before judges of this country, they will not tell you that this criminal has been brought to before me, therefore, I will not deal with this matter. Go and get me all the criminals in the street so that I can deal with it. You deal with the one that has been brought before you at any given time. As a judge, I'm going to be, and then you continue making advances.
Eddie, as you can clearly hear, is a very brilliant senator and very educated man, because I know he attended some of the best schools in the world. He's actually an Ivy League scholar. But I find it very simplistic of him to say, because I made a statement or I exercised my political choice, that now I committed what he is cheaply calling an original sin. What is that? You know? Complete.
You are vilifying the president. You're vilifying the president.
Eddie, let's have a serious conversation.
And you are the one who voted for him. That's what I'm saying.
Let's have a serious conversation.
You voted for him.
So what? I exercised my right.
But did you have a right judgment at that time?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And I did because Ayub, you see, Eddie here is accusing Manzo and myself of being politically convenient. But if there are people who are politically convenient, actually, is his party. Today, whether I voted for Ruto or Raila or even
or Gachagua
or the Mzizi guy or whatever that, you know, whether I voted here, the Ganja fellow, whether I voted for either of them, who is in government today? We are now talking
administration.
Exactly, Kenya Kwanza administration, but in cahoots with who?
It is your government.
Listen. If there are, yes, the government is ours, Eddie. And I don't want to start educating you on that because you are a clever man to read it for yourself. Today, the people who are politically convenient are actually the leadership of this country. They masquerade as being in opposition. But the moment they are given an opportunity, that's why I was explaining earlier the concept of AGIP, any government in power. So long as you have an opportunity, that's why today we're talking about broad-based government, but we know it's bread-based government, you know. And so Eddie here cannot come here and start lecturing us about political convenience when they're actually practicing it. It's just that they don't want to be called out. Eddie, when you go to a vote, for me, I consider myself a very responsible Kenyan citizen. When it comes to voting, I will exercise that right, regardless. And you cannot hold it against me because of who I voted. Because now, the truth for the matter is emerging, is there any difference between the people in government, Kenya Kwanza, and those who have been claiming, masquerading for the longest time as being in opposition? There is none. Because the moment they're given an opportunity to go into government, that's why, even Dan Manzo, I want to challenge you. Of those issues that you are raising, please bring a motion in Senate on those issues that you spoke of earlier.
He has one at the Senate.
Yes, he has the impeachment. Yeah, that's okay. I allowed that because I think for me, and that was earlier my starting point.
Do you support that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think if there's anybody to be impeached, actually, it's the President, William Ruto. You know, and all these things, and all this thing of Gachagua and this is diversionary. Yeah, and I've been consistent, Eddie. This is diversionary, the impeachment of Gachagua. Ayub has enumerated very serious concerns in this country. We need to focus on those issues. And that's what I'm saying to you, and I still appeal to you, and I think maybe to your degree of intelligence. Stop wasting your own time as senators. And don't argue conveniently that, we maybe do you want to suspend Article 150? No, of course not. I'm saying if a motion is useless, you know, why do you even want to entertain it? And then why do you not refocus? Why don't you not refocus, Eddie, on those pressing concerns? And
Can I ask about
No,
this?
no, no.
You
hold-
respond to that, but
myself.
let me take Senator Manzo's account.
Yes, I want to say that first
Is
of all.
your censure motion a case of tit for tat?
Well, I've seen it
But
described.
what
as
are
that.
the grounds? If you
Well, you know, unfortunately, Ayub, since it is before the House,
Yes.
I cannot prosecute it here.
But you can prosecute Gachagua.
yeah. No, to Gashagua's is public participation.
No,
Well,
Manzo, you can tell us what are the grounds. Yeah, what are the grounds?
First of all, I have said, you know, these extrajudicial killings, you know, the disappearances, the abductions. There are so many, and they are totally illegal.
they all happen. Okay, let me get you back. Let's just cycle back.
Yes, I wanted to say that.
You'll make your point.
Yes.
Because extrajudicial killings and forced disappearances. Allow me to build this case. The president misled the public. He said when he named his cabinet that George Kinoti resigned.
Yes.
That was on 27th of September 2022.
Yes.
In January 2023, 4th, he said he fired George Kinoti because of extrajudicial killings and forced disappearances.
The people found in
Rivayala.
Rivayala.
The point is then, over the years since then, until 2023-24, the head of state even made statements that were contrary to the law, including the three issues he outlined, that either you will end up in jail, he cannot arrest anyone, put any Kenyan in jail, he cannot prosecute, he has no prosecutorial powers, and the third, which was to send someone to heaven, which is a natural process that we'll all go and undergo because we're going to die nonetheless.
Or to leave Kenya.
Now, the point is then, these issues were in the public domain, Senator.
Yes.
Why didn't you censure the president? Why is it now that you want to censure him?
Yeah.
The timing is what I'm questioning, and whether it's a tit for tat because of the impeachment before the House of the National Assembly.
You know, when a missile is thrown, like you've seen the war in Lebanon and Israel, another missile counters, and that brings peace. I'm looking for peace for Kenyans.
There is escalation in the Middle East.
Yes.
There's no de-escalation.
Yes. I am looking, and I want hope for Kenyans, because every Kenyan is confused, and there is a lot of confusion going on caused by the members of parliament. And therefore, the best thing now that we are doing public participation, the best thing, let the public come. Let Gachagua also defend himself. Let him be allowed. In fact, National Assembly is a mentioned chamber. The trial chamber is the Senate.
Yeah.
But the National Assembly has decided to try Gachagua. It is not them to try. They've decided to try him. Fair enough. Let him be tried. Let him give his defense. And if he can be able to knock out any of these issues, then let the National Assembly change its mind if it is worthy and sold. Let it change its mind. When the matter comes to Senate, Senate is very mature. Other than people, other than people just be rallied politically, let's just go issue by issue. If it doesn't make sense, let's vote for the nation and for the goodness of the nation. But if the National Assembly is just voting like lynching, they are lynching Gachagua, public, public lynching, then National Assembly does public lynching, then the country is stuck. Because now you will have to appoint a new deputy president. How will you do it without causing strife into the country? So, because they are in the one ballot paper, Ruto and Gachagua, let them serve the whole term. If they are not going to serve the whole term, then let both of them go. And then Kenya has a new beginning. And I think the president needs to look at this matter carefully as a head of state. He needs not now to follow the Ishungwas of this world who pressurize him. You know, the president is under a lot of pressure from certain fellows. You know, Ishungwa himself is also interested in becoming deputy president. Because they also say this is a matter of central Kenya. If you remove Gachagua, then you must bring in a Kikuyu. And this is where all of us are guilty of tribalism.
Is it on public record?
It is. You know, it is a common talk in the National Assembly. It is a common talk. So already the divisions are beginning. And the president has a duty to hold this country together, to be a symbol of unity, and to be above these petty politics of members of parliament who are not working for the people who elected them, who are not making the best law for them. For example, the so-called, obvious thing, why is it be entertained? The one of my friends, Cheragai, you cannot extend the term of parliament without going to the people, without do a referendum.
Exactly.
So there is no need to bring in even some law to waste, time of parliament. Instead of serving the people, we are discussing how we are going to extend our term. If 2 years have been unbearable for Kenyans, how will we have 7 years?
Yes.
Kenyans are suffering quietly, including the police who are abducting people. They are not happy with it.
Are you suffering? Are you suffering, Senator?
Of course.
Eddie, are you suffering?
You see, I am suffering. And the moment the people of Migori are suffering,
no medication.
The moment the people,
no school fees.
The moment the people of Migori are suffering, definitely I'm suffering. And you see, I just want to say that as a young person in this country, who have seen young people in this country do very well in terms of expressing themselves and changing from civic actions to political action, I have the mandate from the people of Migori and the responsibility to respond to that mandate by being able to actually being in parliament and doing what the constitution wants me to do. Dr. Ekuro Aukot must be able to also tell the people of Kenya the truth that all the things we're talking about here are subject to processes in the constitution. There is nobody in the Senate, and don't lie to the people, there is nobody in the Senate who can initiate an impeachment motion against the president, against the deputy president, against the governor. Governors start in the county assembly. The president and deputy president start from the National Assembly. And when it is brought to us, it is the National Assembly versus the individual who has been brought to us, and we must therefore act as judges to be able to pronounce ourselves on that issue, which is why I've really restrained myself on talking about merit and merit of the Gachagua case. But be it as it may.
This is the public domain.
It is public.
The charge sheet is there.
Yes, the charge sheet is there, but my pronouncements on that charge sheet is up until it comes to the Senate. There is public participation that is going to happen at the National Assembly level, which is going to go on. But then when it's brought to us, we will make a pronouncement. But this is the thing, my brother Ayub. What we must also do is that, we have got different level of exposure, and I'm going to use the word exposure. The exposure that the Ekuro Aukot has is not the exposure that his village mates in Todonyang, in Turkana have. Yeah. When a Ekuro Aukot says something, it is taken very serious by his village mates, because they gave him education. By the way, if you look at the Kuru's background, you'll be impressed where this gentleman has come from and where he has reached. They gave him an education. They made him a better man who can be able to access information that can be education. I mean, people support you. People supported you in your community. Don't disown your community. We are a function of our own communities in our own ways.
But stop. Right? Don't lie. Right? Because you see, that's an abstract reality you're putting.
But you're more educated than your community members. Some of the people in Todonyang.
Many people.
I mean, that's blanket condemnation.
It's not.
There are many educated.
Yes. You have not done a scientific study.
There is no numerical evidence that you can produce at that.
Exactly.
Okay, let's take it this way, right? Numerically,
I think that's undermining a community.
Even in my community, there are people who have been denied opportunity that I've had. That's a fact. People even now, even the university education that has been brought before us today, is denying many people opportunities than what we have. This is a fact. Let me tell you something. Do not run away from your privilege. What you can do for your privilege is to use it to change the people of your community. And my point I was trying to drive home is this. Okuru has got more opportunities of analyzing and making better decisions and better judgment on the people that he brings in leadership. Okay? Including 2022 when he voted for Ruto, he had a better judgment.
It
doesn't pain me. What pains me is that when Ekuru wants me to clear his mess, that is what is paining me.
In what aspect does he want you to clear his mess?
He says
and what is the mess?
He says that Ruto is a bad president now, and he had the right judgment
demonstrated it.
At the time of the ballot to make a good decision, which he didn't make. Which is why I'm telling you that the conversation that Dan Manzo is bringing is a very important one. Dan Manzo is saying that there's a potential that if Rigiji is impeached, then there are a number of individuals who are very lined up to be deputy president or who are already rumored with a chance of them being a deputy president, I think that the nation should be invited in that conversation early enough to start looking at the character of these individuals. He has mentioned that Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah is a potential deputy president. Ekuru Aukot, wrongfully so, mentioned that Raila Odinga is a potential candidate. I don't have a problem with you mentioning whatever you're mentioning, as long as I don't mention it. You know, there is rumors that Kindiki is a potential candidate. There is rumors about Mutai Kagwe being the potential candidate looking at the mountain. I think that because impeachment is a full process that starts with the accusations that we are seeing in the National Assembly, and the end of it is the replacement of a deputy president should he be removed from power. I think at this point, people like Ekuru Aukot, people like Dan Mahanzo should start talking about the character of leadership that they want to see in this nation. They should start talking about the caliber of people they would want to see should this impeachment happen. And I'm saying that should it because I'm a judge. Should it happen, what kind of deputy president would you want to see that you in terms of character, in terms of national cohesion, in terms of unity in the country?
Yes.
Is there a kind of leaders do you want? For instance, if I ask Ekuru Aukot, among the four that he has mentioned, does he have any one of his favorites? Or does he have another candidate that he wants to put forward? Maybe he's supporting Mahanzo to bring Kalonzo as a deputy. I don't know. But I don't know that is there.
As a wife, I will not allow Kalonzo to be leadership.
So that he can redeem himself from the bad judgment that he made.
I'm happy to nominate you. I'm happy to nominate you. I mean, unless you don't have confidence in yourself that you can actually deputize the presidents in this country. But there's one thing that Eddie, I think, is missing here. These are legislators. They pass the debate laws every other day. Eddie, when people go to the poll, and I can see the pain in you that I did not pick your vote for your preferred candidate.
I haven't said that.
No, you know, it's evident from the way you are speaking. And I've said it before, there was no difference. In fact, if you now want me to justify why I voted for William Ruto, I can do it. Actually, there is one advantage of William Ruto's presidency. Actually, two. Number one is the fact that he managed to remove for us this fake dynastic claim. And I've said it many times. The entitlement that some so-called big shots had in this country, William Ruto actually has removed that for us. And the second advantage William Ruto has given us is the opportunity to transition into new leadership in this country. Because he himself has proved, despite claiming that he is one of our own, he is a hustler, Mama Wilbaro, now he has betrayed all that cause. My only prayer, and I like this conversation from Eddie when he talks about the character of leadership. My only prayer is that Kenyans can see for themselves that we can actually be duped politically, even by those who claim to be in the opposite side. Now, when they go into bed with the same government, you know, and Eddie, Article 10 of the Constitution is absolutely clear, and I don't want to lecture you on it. To make a political decision does not mean that you cannot seek accountability of that government. That's why you, in 2027, I don't know whether you want to vie again, but you'll go back to Migori. And the people of Migori now will start, analyzing, well, did Eddie represent us? Mahanzo will probably go back to Makueni if he doesn't want to become the next president of Kenya. And people will start evaluating you. That is called accountability. And the fact that people make political decisions to put somebody into power does not mean that you go back to slumberland or be blind and start praising them. You have to call them out. Just like we are calling out William Ruto's administration because of the lies he has subjected Kenyans to, because of even this thing of Gachagua. Yeah. Honestly, it's a big. That's why for me, I conclude it's a joke, because where did you go wrong? Why can't you and your deputy sit down the same way you sat somewhere and agreed, let's go into one ticket together? Now, why are you treating us these shenanigans publicly?
Actually, he picked him, despite MPs voting for Kindiki.
Yeah, MPs didn't want
I don't know. Do we even have evidence of that?
Yes,
yeah, he said in public.
Yes. So he made that decision.
Yes, he made the decision.
Now, as a leader, hold on, then why is it that you cannot again sit down with your deputy and say, okay, guys, I think things have gone wrong. We in law, we go into mediation. We don't have to litigate everything into
alternative dispute resolution.
Alternative dispute resolution. We can actually go there and say, "Bwana, tumekoseana hapa. Is there a way in which we can rectify?" And after all, we pretend to be a very religious nation, especially the two of them. They carry the Bible a lot. They even preach. I even saw Ruto preaching in Haiti.
Yeah.
And actually singing.
For police.
So why is it that you cannot now find it in your heart
to preach to Gachagua?
Preach to Gachagua.
So now there's hope in the country. And there's another good thing about Ruto's presidency. Yeah. I am very happy Ruto became president because now people know who Ruto is and what are his capacities. You know, if President Ruto had been in opposition, Raila Odinga would not have lasted for a year. So I'm very happy that it has happened and Kenya now can move on. There is hope for this nation. In the event the deputy president is mistreated and is mishandled by the National Assembly and the Senate, having not listened to public persuasion, which is going on now. Because Kenyans and the parliament never follows or listen to public persuasion. It's a PR exercise, then after that, they just do what they want to do. Then the courts will bring Gachagua back. There will be a court battle, which will go to Supreme Court. And I'm very sure, because there are no grounds, even the angels in heaven can see, this is lynching, this is...
The judge.
Yeah. I am very sure, finally, the courts will help this country, and I really want to urge the judiciary to be firm in its decision and to follow the law. If there are no grounds, there are no ground. Bring back Gachagua to the people.
So what's then the consequence? Senator, I'll come to you. What's then the consequence, Senator Manzo here,
yes,
of what the duo had in what they presented to the Kenyan people, the better plan, agriculture, and food security, the superhighway infrastructure, manufacturing, education, security? What will happen to that?
I can assure you, for the next 3 years, Ruto's government will do nothing to Kenyans. We saw fake fertilizers. Why have they not prosecuted anybody up to today or made good the farmers who lost on fake fertilizers? Vuake Dam has told simple little money to complete a dam. They cannot. If you cannot complete Vuake Dam, what else can you do for the people of Kenya? There are no roads.
Failed projects.
Failed projects. Then they pretend we are launching new railway lines. We are being funded. You know, we are being funded and funded, collected taxes and all the money mismanaged and stolen.
Okay. Yes, Senator.
While Parliament watches.
So I want
while
to pick
Parliament and finally, sorry. And then when the only man, the only man who decided to do the work of Parliament, Kebaso, Morara, he is arrested. There's only one place also the police did well. When the young people went to the streets, they never went to tear gas them. There was no problem, and Morara was released. So we should have learned something out of that. No more tear gassing of Kenyans, no more abductions.
I think you should say,
yes, Senator.
Eddie, you should say while you are watching, not Parliament was watching.
Yeah, because it's very frustrating.
But I'm fighting.
It's very frustrating.
Yes.
I am watching and I'm fighting.
You know, let me tell you, Kenyans are very, very intelligent people. Despite some of us having been confronted by different scenarios where you cannot even get education because of high cost of education, many of us can make 1 + 1. What that man is saying is basically fresh elections. In fact, maybe the biggest priority right now, because he said he has failed. He has confessed on TV that as a senator of Makueni, he has failed.
And every other member of Parliament has failed.
I don't think every other, and I've told you what I've done in the Senate, and I've tried to do very well as a new legislator who has come in, and I wanted to go through that because there's a misconception here that Dan Manzo is trying to bring on the public for convenience, as I said. You see, if you go to the Senate today, you will look, it brought the issue of equalization fund. As we speak right now, there's a dollar bill that is going to make sure that 8 billion is put into that account. We are passing that bill.
What if the president refuses? What do we do?
Let him finish his point.
It doesn't let me finish my point.
Let him make
right?
his point. Senator.
The committee that I sit in Finance and Budget with Senator Ali Roba, when there was a lacuna in law because of the lack of passing of CARA, because CARA is the only instrument that we have in the Senate, that is the act of parliament that should be able to define the distribution of revenue among counties, and then afterwards we pass a schedule to it. When it was decided by the president, there was a conflict in the sense that there is no law then you can be able to use to give money to counties for this financial year. For the record, the money for the last financial year has been given to counties until June. Counties haven't gotten money for this July, August, September, and that was because the finance bill failed and Dora and Kara were in contention. We have worked very hard. Even yesterday, maybe I was not in Parliament, but I was in Parliament.
I was, and I followed.
Yeah, and he was there when we were passing a very serious conversation on Dora, so that counties can be able to get money. We are doing our work.
Why is it a struggle, Senator, to get the counties their deserved cash? I mean, which is...
No, I've explained on the contention right now. The young people...
This is just a microcosm of what has been a lengthy problem even for some time.
Yes.
What is the problem exactly? Because if the governors are saying that for 90 days we haven't received any cash, services are coming to a halt, our agreements with local banks are no longer tenable because the banks need the cash as well.
Yes.
So why is it hard?
So
just an important issue which is of significance to the Kenyan public, including those in Migori and those in Makueni.
Yes.
So important, straightforward, constitutional aspect, right? What's wrong with this issue?
So let me explain.
Yes.
In the Senate and in the National Assembly, there are a number of laws that define how we divide money. The first law is passing the finance bill that defines what revenue targets we have as a country and how is it going to be utilized. And out of that, we pass something called DORA, Division of Revenue Act. That Division of Revenue Act is the one that defines how much money the national government will get and the county governments will get. After that, we pass in the Senate what we call KARA, which is a piece of legislation that defines how the counties now are going to share that revenue among themselves. Once you have finished that, we pass a disbursement schedule to different counties. In the previous years, we have successfully passed those laws. But remember, because of the finance bill that was bad, according to all Kenyans, that it was squashed, we don't have a finance bill right now in place. There is a physical consolidation proposal that's going to review that finance bill. So in the absence of a finance bill, we had something called KARA that we passed last year, which wasn't acceded to by the president because the president withdrew the finance bill, so he could not be able to sign on that law because it's a consequential law. It is pegged on the previous on the finance bill that had been proposed. So because of that lacuna right now, this financial year, there has not been instrument to be able to disburse money. But the Finance and Budget Committee in the Senate, where I sit, chaired by Senator Ali Roba from Mandera, went and sought an advisory note from the AG. And the AG gave us the advisory note last week, Friday, Dr. Ekura Ukot, that in the event that there is no finance bill and KARA hasn't been passed, then as a country, we rely on regulation number 134. That regulation says that in the event these pieces of regulation are not there, the national government is supposed to give up to 50% of the previously
audited account.
Of the previously.
That's a wrong advice.
It's not a misadvice.
Poor advice.
This is an age of the country, my friend.
Yeah, but the age can be wrong.
This one I agree with. So, of the previous DORA bill that we passed, that was the last year's 2023, 2024. Now, because of that, we wrote a letter to the Treasury, okay? To the Treasury, that is Honorable C.S. John Mbadi, on the same Friday to release the corresponding amount. That corresponding amount is 32 billion that is supposed to come next week. The CS was invited to the Senate yesterday. The CS was in the Senate yesterday. I think you know my
yes, sir, he was there.
He said that is fine. They are going to release that 32 billion. However, the problem is this. In the CRF, the governors, because they're using individual contractors in the counties to be able to harness all the monies, still have in their CRF account 42 billion that hasn't been spent. So you see the way all this thing is complex, but the truth is because of that lacuna, that money will come. But I wanted to say something here very...
Just hang on. Yes. Let me get the account of Dr.
Are you listening to Eddie and what he's explaining? He's actually talking about a failed institution, two failed institutions, the executive and parliament.
Yes.
Now, when you don't have, the finance law, which is the money collecting law, and Eddie is an economist, and he can explain this probably even better than everybody. That law has a lifespan of 1 year.
That's true.
Yeah. On 30th of June every year, that law collapses. And that's why parliamentarians go back and now look at a new law called the Finance Act or Finance Bill. Mm-hmm. Now, in the absence of that law, why is it the fundamental question I should be asking? That's why I'm saying that Parliament has actually failed this country. Since this bill was rejected, honestly, why hasn't Parliament gone back to the drawing board and saying, you know what, we need a money collecting bill? Then they allowed the president to sign something called Appropriation Act, which is a money expenditure law. How is he expending? Which money is he expending when there is no basis for collecting money? So why is it, I mean, when a country is in a state of crisis, like there is no law and the law is needed, why can't Parliament even sit up to midnight to just pass a law that is actually as a common good to the people of Kenya? So we are now allowing a country to be in some state of vacuum, and Maanzo here will know that law abhors vacuum.
Yes.
Why are we allowing ourselves to be in this state of affairs? Instead, we are being entertained to impeachment nonsense.
But that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing right now.
So, yeah, just a rejoinder. You see, that's why I'm saying, Parliament is under capture. And all the brains in Parliament have been deleted and replaced with one brain of William Samoei Ruto.
No, now, that's wrong to say.
Is it then
that's the case wrong to say?
Yes, it's under capture. Let me finish my statement.
Let me finish his point.
And that's why all the voting, like now with all this bread-based government, all the voting, 99% is what the president wants. So Parliament no longer has a role. It is good to debate these things nicely as we have debated and all these nice theories. But so long as there is no money at the county and there is no money for medication, then there is a problem. That needs to be addressed before we deal with Adani. And before we...
But Ayub, I wanted
but how does the president capture the very same...
No, I wanted you to respond.
I'll say how it is done.
Yes, let me ask you...
What is directed and agreed from State House is what happens in the floor. And that's why I'm saying the survival of Rigathi and the survival of this country is purely dependent on the president.
But how does that happen, Senator Manzo? Explain in practical terms then how the very same house that
yes, a vote.
Majority has been granted the power to even impeach the president.
And yes, a vote.
Can I just...
It has the power to impeach the president.
So
but let me ask
how do the roles change here?
How
does it suddenly become an appendix?
I'll tell you how.
For the executive.
The political parties and finally an impeachment is a vote. Today, if a national member of parliament moves an impeachment motion of the president, first of all, the speaker to admit that motion will be a problem. If the speaker rejects that motion, then it will never see the floor of the House. Now, if you come to the floor of the House and the whole House votes to have the president back, that will happen. I'll tell you about these monies we are saying it must go to the counties. When the president sends back an act of parliament to the House, the House should either agree with the president or disagree with him, and it must be 2/3 voting. How will you get that when there is bread-based government?
So the point is then, Senator, I ask you again.
I have a question.
The speakers of the bicameral setup are supposed to be neutral referees.
Absolutely.
And they have no vote.
Is it the case? They have already made statements which are biased. How will you then be an arbiter when the referee has already determined the outcome of the score?
And that's why
Rigathi was told to stop.
I have a question for you.
Eddie, let me ask you.
I can ask questions. I can ask a question. I can also ask a question. I can also ask a question.
You have a response?
Yes, I can ask a question.
I will ask the question.
Eddie.
Yes, make your point, Dr.
Eddie, let's not trivialize the fact that Parliament has actually been compromised.
It's compromised.
It's been compromised. Let's go
just
back.
like
is that a question or a
just like Balaam was compromised, Parliament is compromised. Unless an angel of God stops Balaam, unless God stops Parliament, it's a problem.
Let him make his point.
Kenyans are going to suffer.
So Ayub,
what is the question?
So let's remind Kenyans some facts. After the 2022 election, Azimio had the majority in Parliament.
Yes.
And therefore was going to be a very strong opposition to check on the excesses of government. The first thing William Ruto did was to go and compromise members of Azimio.
Azimio, yes.
Both of them, including some of Eddie's political party. So the balance tilted to now, quote unquote, Kenya Kwanza controlling majority in Bunge. And that is the beginning of compromising any accountability or oversight on the part of government. So that whatever laws a failing government like the one that we have wants to pass it will be rubber stamped in parliament because already the compromise has happened. And I think that's a limit that, you know, if you're going to have a talk about the state of our nation, we must also be truthful.
Can I answer that?
Yes.
And that's a factor.
A Kura court will tell you that in both unguarded and guarded moments, he himself fought me.
How?
When I was the only young man in this country who was fighting parliamentarians who were going to State House and getting compromise, including my own ODM members that I sanctioned for.
Now ODM is in bed with the government.
Okay, let me make a point.
Can I just prosecute my
let him
case?
provide the context.
Right?
And I never fought him.
Yes.
So don't lie. I never fought him.
Ekuru, you are a very good friend. And
we have become allied.
He knows very well what I mean.
We are
when
now
I say that
nation.
he fought me, when I was saying that members of parliament of ODM had been compromised to the extent that they were championing.
About your party leader.
Can I just?
Okay,
when I don't intervene.
Yes.
They had been compromised to the extent that they were not standing for what was right in Parliament, they were standing for what is right in State House. And the State House issue, the media and your records will vindicate me. I was among the top young people and parliamentarians who fought this issue of MPs being compromised by the State House not to be able to play their role, to the extent that my own life was in danger when I took a number of MPs before ODM for disciplinary to be able to be sanctioned by the law that Ekura Court wrote, that if you do stop championing other people's agenda in Parliament, then you ought to live under a Political Parties Act. Now, be it as it may, where we find ourselves today, there is truth that still goes on in the quarters of Parliament. But I refuse to accept that there are some other sober parliamentarians who are constantly fighting these bad manners. And what I was expecting from Dan Manzo is not to sit down and say, people of Makueni elected me to go to Senate, and then I've failed to be able to fight this fight. It should, at least one vote should constantly be able to show some kind of transparency. As I finish, there's something they brought.
Let me then ask you this, because it's important that you have highlighted on this matter.
Yes.
And so you're talking about the cases of Elisha Odhiambo, Tomu Jenda, Mark Nyamita, causing up the president.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
And you had a concern as a party as to why they had done so.
Yes.
Do you have a concern that two former members of ODM are now two serving cabinet ministers, and your deputy chairpersons, Wycliffe Ambetsa Oparanya and Alias Joho, are in cabinet?
I don't.
And his party leader.
I don't.
Can I ask the question?
Yeah.
Why don't you have a problem?
I don't.
Why? Because my question is why? If you had a problem with the three, and they are lawmakers, to go work with the president, as they said, why don't you have a problem with those who have been incorporated?
Because as the people who have gone into government right now have gone one in their individual capacity, demonstrated by this.
But they did also in their individual capacity. That's the argument.
No, it's not individual.
Well, we had Professor Ojenda, the senator here.
Yes, can I answer?
Mark Nyamita was here with me.
Can I answer?
What they said was they went there on their individual capacities to go, and there was nothing wrong with
No, there was something wrong because they were active sitting members of parliament. Wanda is no longer an active sitting member of parliament. Joe is no longer an active sitting member of the leadership of the party, which makes political decisions. So is Ombesa Oparanya. The compromise that they had to take, which was a big compromise, was that they had to relinquish all their duties, which is what is in line with Political Parties Act, Section 14E, that says that if a parliamentarian chooses to go there as an individual, there's no problem. But then relinquish what responsibility you have been given. They refuse to relinquish their duties as members of parliament, and these other ones have relinquished their duties as required by the Political Parties Act. And by the way, let me tell you, Ayub, the moment we want to reflect on all these other issues that have passed, that also should determine how we take the issue of the impeachment of the deputy president. Because as a legislator, if a Kura court wants to bring the issue of tribalism just because there is Awandai or Mbadi, and therefore want, and even Manzo,
you know I'm not a tribalist.
No, he said I took a note. I took a note. It's a Kura court who say that there's a tribal mobilization which determines the arrangement, which why ODM,
the political
yes, and also why ODM got into this. As a person who comes from Nyanza and who was brought up by a number of other families, including including a Kikuyu family. I cannot be apologetic for a few Luos who have found themselves in the individuals being in individual capacity, being in government.
Yes.
But this is what I'm saying.
Eddie, we are out of time. Can I just sample the feedback? I give you 30 seconds each. We are done? Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Winnie, let's have the feedback on X. The hashtag is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at IU Abdikadir. Here is what you are saying, and coming up on your screens shortly regarding the topic we had at hand here on the State of the Nation this Thursday morning, as we discussed matters that are of a pressing degree for the Kenyan public, including the transition to the new healthcare scheme and, of course, the concerns over how the technology will be deployed. The first from Crispina Saddam says the Parliament has already expressed openly through its top leadership that a final decision has been made. However, regarding Gachagua, he means the Deputy President can have a new lifeline if he can demonstrate that he opposed the unpopular KK policies. Geoff Muita says the National Assembly impeached the Deputy President overwhelming even before the charges were laid. I doubt whether this is the case. I see the President's hand in this. Who else has the financial muscle to whip 291 MPs? Gabi Wakasiaka says 80% of Kenyans don't support the impeachment of the Deputy President, regarding Gachagua, but they support the impeachment of both the President and the Deputy.
That's the way it should go.
Esawe says Rigaji's impeachment is just another move in the political chessboard, and game is all about their survival, not the people. They are distracting us from the real issues, breaking promises and keeping us busy with the noise. Meanwhile, the National Assembly has failed us. Engineer Lazaro says, Honorable Manzo, what's going on in the UDA party? Isn't it different from the same method ANC parliamentary caucus applied to be stripped Jacob Zuma? He means in South Africa, powers to lead South Africa. This is pure UDA internal feuds, please. Let them solve their messes. Again, Gabi says, Gladys Bose Cholet and Wetangula should recuse themselves from the process of impeaching Rigathi Gachagua after they publicly endorsed the Gachagua's impeachment, yet they are playing a role of the arbiter. Kimur Goregon says, Eddie, why are you living a lie? ODM are in government. Stop being hypocritical in debate. All ODM brigade was in the United States of America trip with the president as part of government. UN General Assembly. Masika says, I never thought President Ruto would turn out to be a master of confusion. For sure, Kenya has lost direction and under an image under him. Our priorities are warped and Parliament is too petty like teenagers. Our National Assembly is an eyesore. Sir Nixon Degure, about the public participation on Gachagua's impeachment, I wish it can be done at ward level than at county level in order to involve as many people as possible. What will happen if the public decides Gachagua to stay? Yes, Daktari, 30 seconds.
So I just wanted to say, Eddie, I mean, I'll say this in conclusion. You know, when I listen to you, you keep on referring to the fact that you're a young person in this country. But you should also give young people hope that there will be transformational leadership going forward. When, for example, you prosecuted the Professor Ojenda, Karoli, and Elisha and the rest, you know, you are cherry picking in your own party. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have invoked that article, you know. They say they went there I did not see the problem with the President of the Republic of Kenya, even meeting an ordinary Kenyan, let alone a legislator, you know. I don't see where the problem are you. This is not a party betrayal or anything. These are leaders. If they can lobby the government of the day at that very high level about issues in their constituencies, why do you have a problem with that? Because that is what we call representation. But the problem I had with Eddie, and he says I fought him, but I never fought him. I called him and I told him, Eddie, stop being convenient. It's okay for your party leader, Raila Amolo Odinga, to be in dalliance with William Ruto, and you have never taken him through the same disciplinary measures. But it's wrong for Karoli Omondi, Tom Ojenda, and Elisha to be seen with the president, especially if the president was visiting their constituents or their regions. What's wrong with that? I think we are being petty.
Thank you.
You know, we shouldn't restrict people from us. Eddie is my friend for a very, very long time. Yeah, actually, he's a founder member of Third Way. I don't know why he doesn't want to confess that. I mean, he's a founder member of Third Way. Yeah, but you see, I will never abandon him.
Yes.
I will never shy away.
Yeah.
He abandoned me. I think maybe in darkness he goes like that.
Now that the arbiter, the speaker, and the deputy have clearly shown that you know, they cannot preside fairly over the matter of Gachagua, I think they should step aside And then most important, now that Parliament is also clear that the National Assembly is biased, I think the best way is to go the way the clergy have said.
Thank you.
The clergy want arbitration in this matter. The clergy want the president and the deputy to make up. The clergy are saying, if you remove Gachagua, you're going to have a lot of other problems in the country. Let's follow and heed the advice of the clergy.
Yes, Eddie.
On matters of impeachment, I want to remain as a sober judge as much as possible. The matter will come before the Senate where I sit, and it will be a matter between the Deputy President and the National Assembly. I hope that the National Assembly will be able to pronounce themselves well on this matter, but I wouldn't take a stand on this up until when it comes. But I can tell you for a fact that should he be impeached in the process, I would expect leaders like Ekura Aukot, leaders like my brother Dan Mahanzo, to guide the nation well and put pressure so that we have got the right kind of leadership that they would want to see. And the names that they have mentioned, I don't know whether they're convinced about them. They have mentioned here.
But I'm asking.
It's over.
My time. They have mentioned here Kimani Ichung'wah. They have mentioned Kindiki. They have he has added Eddie Oketch. They have mentioned Mutahi Kagwe. I want them to have a sober conversation on a leader who can be able to guide the country to a more national and cohesive society.
Senator Eddie Oketch, thank you so much for your time. Migori County Representative at the Senate. Dan Manzo, Makueni County Senator, thank you, much appreciated for your time. And Dr. Ekura Aukot is the Third Way Alliance Party of Kenya. Gentlemen, much appreciated for gracing us with your presence here on the broadcast. And thank you. We'll see you some other time to discuss the state of the nation as always.
In fact, you should give Kaluma
the right of reply. It's over. We'll talk about that. I'll see you tomorrow morning here on the broadcast. Many thanks for waking up with us here on the broadcast. Till then, good morning.